Hello, welcome to another exciting episode of Peak vs. Anxiety. My guest today has a bachelor's in special education. She also has a master's in social work, is a mental health advocate, nonprofit founder, peer support specialist, and just happens to be somebody living with mental illness herself. After cheating death in 2023, she decided to turn 35 years of trauma into motivation, not only to heal herself, but build a community. Please welcome in the one, the only Maddie Andrews. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about yourself, Maddie?
Definitely. So, yes, my bachelor's degree is in special education. I'm currently working on my master's degree in social work. I am a peer support specialist. I did found a nonprofit in 2024. Um, But it really was my story of taking trauma as motivation, not just healing for myself, but healing for others, that enabled me to create the nonprofit and go to grad school. And living with serious mental illness is no small feat.
So why don't you tell everybody a little more about your story? Because I'm interested to know here. I know from
Yeah.
what we said in the beginning here, we had cheating death in 2023. There's got to be some things that led up to this.
Yeah, my story's pretty long and complicated. I won't take 3 hours to tell you, but it all started when I was 4. So I was actually sexually assaulted as a child, and it
Okay,
created a lot of deep-seated issues because when I reached out for help, I was shut down. I was told it was my fault. I was told if I told my parents, I would be in a whole lot of trouble. So I regressed. I stopped sleeping. I became overly attached. I was fearful of being in trouble and really did this in silence. And when I was in middle school, I started having symptoms like psychosis and mania and depression. And I had gone so long without talking about my mental health. And also, as a child, you only know what you know. You think everybody
exactly.
does the same thing. So I didn't articulate. But when I was 14, I read a magazine article about a young woman with OCD. And I said, oh, is this a difference? Like, is there something different about me? And that's when I started to get treatment. It wasn't my final diagnosis. It changed quite a bit over the years. When I was 16, it changed to mood disorder not otherwise specified and anxiety. When I was 19, it changed to bipolar 1 disorder. And my final diagnosis is schizoaffective bipolar type, PTSD, OCD, and generalized anxiety. And what that all means, the schizoaffective part, is that I live with symptoms of both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And I really struggled to find recovery with that at a young age. In my teens, I was hallucinating, had paranoia, delusions, battled with mania and depression. And when I was 19, I was actually hospitalized the first time because I started having suicidal thoughts. And it was a very lonely path. I craved finding someone else like me, but I wasn't finding anyone because these things are typically pretty hush hush with people, which I can respect. The world's not always a safe place. In my 20s, I was able to go back to school after 4 hospitalizations and drug treatment. Um, and I was able to work and I was able to go to school, but the problem was I wasn't taking care of myself. So when I came home, my personal life was just in shambles. I wasn't able to do much of anything. I mean, just showering was difficult for me. And then in 2023, I had been living in this baseline of psychosis, major depression, and I was on 10, 15 medications, all
God
maxed out.
damn. What?
Yeah, it was
10 to
bad. Like,
15. Dear
yeah,
God.
I would go to the doctor and say, "This is happening," and she'd say, "Well, just take this other med, like, just add well, now I have this side effect." Like, I couldn't process emotions. My mother died by suicide in 2019, and I couldn't even cry from all of these medications, and I was unmotivated. I was 420 pounds.
Yeah.
My thyroid stopped working. I mean, you name it, I had it, and I spent my entire 20s like this, and when she called in 2023, she's like, "There's a new medication." I was like, "Here we go again."
Right.
What's one
Yeah.
more? But this was a game changer for me. I started to process emotions. I started to feel motivated. I started to live life again. In 2021, I was so depressed that the only thought I had for a year was suicide. I was
Yeah.
self-harming, and all of this started to change. So she said, "Well, let's take you off some of these other medications, but like I said, with schizoaffective, you have to treat mania, depression, and psychosis. Well, this new medication is FDA regulated for depression and psychosis, but not mania." And she took me off my mania medication, and pretty quickly I became extremely manic. And when I become extremely manic, I become extremely psychotic. And no one was doing anything about it. I started to articulate and they were like, just rest. And I was working it, and it took me about, I would say 6 months before I put my foot down because
Yeah.
I was having such bad symptoms with this psychosis and mania. It was dangerous. And I said, I'm going to go out of work. You're going to treat me. I self advocated. And so not only was I written out of work, but my husband was also written out of work to be my caretaker 24/7. The first course of action was benzos to calm me
Oh, that's funny
down.
you say benzos because we just had a conversation about that with the guest that was just here before you came in the studio. I've been
Really?
doing, yeah, I did an interview earlier with the gentleman. He was a benzo addicted too, but now he used a mushroom he had really helped. I'll get you the link to what he's doing now. He's doing great things with
Right.
mushrooms now. But yeah, that's funny you say benzos because that was the topic of conversation prior to this.
Right. I've been on benzos for a long time, but I'm also an addict. So giving me a whole lot of benzos is probably a bad idea, right?
Yeah,
And when that didn't work, I was on a medication for 15 years called lithium. And part of
yeah, I've
lithium
heard about that
treatment,
one too. Yep.
yeah, it's a heavy metal used to treat bipolar disorder, but you have to get your blood work obtained with lithium. It's very important.
Yeah.
She added a lot more lithium and didn't obtain blood work. And pretty quickly there, I stopped being able to walk, talk, swallow, use the restroom. I was in diapers.
Jeez.
And my husband would put me on video call with her, and she would say, "Well, just rest, just rest." And one day, my husband and I were sitting in his truck. He was going to take me to therapy, and got enough strength and I said, "Take me to the hospital." And he said, "You want to go?" Because I had always told him not to take me there. And I said, "Yeah." He was like, "You want to get your stuff?" I said, "Nope. I want to go now." And he took me to the mental hospital, and they quickly discovered that this was out of their scope. And I was rushed to the ER where it was discovered that I had extreme lithium toxicity, serotonin syndrome, and AME, which is a brain injury, acute metabolic
Jesus.
something. And I was actually in the ICU for several weeks, followed by the mental hospital where I almost died. I had to relearn everything, and PT and OT were working with me in the hospital. Um, and when I went to the mental hospital, those kind of supports kind of went away. But I literally taught myself in the hospital, this is how you write your name. This is how you read. This is how you dial a phone.
Yeah.
And when I came home, those supports were non-existent, and I practiced talking, and I practiced walking, and I completely rehabbed myself, and along the way, I was like, "Why are there so little services for people like me, and why is it I've been coached to be silent my entire life?" Because I don't think this is a bad thing. I think mental health is a part of all of us in some
Yeah.
way. So why should I be ashamed of who I am for the way I was born? And so I started talking, and 3 months after coming home, miraculously, I was back at work full time. And 4 months later, I started J&E Support Group, our nonprofit, and 9 months later, I was in grad school, and it was a rapid recovery that was not expected. They thought I would have silent syndrome and need to live in assisted living for the rest of my life. I am not. Um, and I didn't do it alone. I had supports along the way, but I really took that trauma, my life's trauma, and said, how can we use this as a point of change for the community?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. I got to tell you right now that your story is number three on the most craziest stories ever told me. And this is no disrespect to anybody listening. I'm just telling you that that has to be the most intense story I've heard on the list of things that have been told me in this show, story wise. Holy crap. I
Right? And
have a
I
lot of
had
questions. I have a lot of questions for you.
I had amnesia, so when I came home, I had no idea what had happened to me. The only
Oh,
reason I
okay.
know any of this is because I read my medical records. Like when I was in the hospital, the only thing I could see was hallucinations. They would tell me things or give me scans, and
Yeah.
some of it was relayed to my husband, but most of this is from what my husband told me or medical records. I can't recall a lot of those times to this day.
Well, hats off to him
Yeah,
because
he's great.
oh my God, what he had to go through. That guy is a trooper. Like,
Because when
like you
I'm
married him for a reason. That man right there
yeah,
is a trooper.
when I was manic, I'm very aggressive. Like, I'm normally a sweet, compassionate, empathetic person, but we were button heads, man, and he was changing my diapers and doing my meds and coordinating, um, my medical care. I mean, he was my 24/7 complete. He went from a wife who works and takes care of the household to working full time from home and caring for your wife like she's at the end of her life, 24 hours a day. And he did it without blinking an eye.
Yeah, that's awesome. That says a lot about him, speaks character and volumes. So my question though to you is like early on when you guys were dating, was it hard given the fact that you were sexually assaulted as a kid? Was it like did you have some like kind of like weird did it make it kind of weird for you though? I mean, a lot of times it really messes people up psychologically and then it affects the
It
way they
does.
view relationships. So early on, was it a little tougher for you when you started dating people?
I wasn't open with anybody about this until I was manic in 2023. So he had no idea, and I wasn't
Oh, okay.
reflecting on it a lot. But I've always had a very unhealthy, like, concept when it comes to relationships and
Yeah.
sex, especially because of it. When you're dealing with something like childhood trauma, you really have to be prepared to do the work if you're going to do trauma work. So
Yeah.
it really wasn't something I started diving into and understanding until the last couple of years, but yes, it did. Now that I can reflect back, it had a huge impact on me my entire adult life.
Yeah. So, do you have any advice for anybody that may have been assaulted? Like any inspiring words for them to get out there and say something? I know, like from what you said, when you tried to tell somebody, they stopped listening to you. They said, "Oh, you were making things up," which is it's not shocking because a lot of times that's what you hear when we were younger. A lot of them were like, "Oh yeah, I tried to tell somebody, and they just looked at me like I was crazy."
You know, I just wish people, when a child especially, or anybody, this can happen to a man or a woman, child or adult, if someone is coming to you with this information, please don't just go to the doubt. I know our society does that a lot when people come forward, and that's why more people don't come forward. I also want to say if you have children, ask them these questions. My parents never asked me, so they had no idea. They're gone. They never learned this information. I was never sat down and told, if someone touches you here, you need to tell me.
You know, it's
So
interesting you say that though. There's a woman I met, Nicole Richardson. She's a therapist here in Texas. She had told me the other thing to teach kids while we're on that subject is to teach them about their different private parts. So that way, in case someone were to ask them, they can identify them correctly. Because if the cops were to come talk to your child, I know here in Texas, I'm not sure what state you're in, but where the rules may apply at different places. But I know she said that they can only interview them like 2 to 3 times, and if they can't identify something's wrong, that's why the importance of teaching them their own body, like their own anatomy, so they know what it is, so they can tell somebody, "Hey, somebody touched me here," and then they can tell what it is. Because if the kids don't say it, the cops can't do nothing.
right, nobody knew with me except my teacher, and it was totally just my parents knew something was wrong because I
Yeah,
started having these symptoms, but they couldn't identify, and I was never told that this is wrong and you need to speak up. And
yeah,
teaching them the correct words to identify their private parts, like you're saying, is very important. And, sometimes we give them nicknames.
yeah,
If you tell a cop or a teacher or an adult, a trusted adult, that they may not understand what they're saying.
yeah. No, it's all great points, Maddie. Really are. So I hats off to you for sharing that. I know it's hard to talk about it for a lot of people. God damn. From what you just told me, holy crap! Thankfully you're still here though, because now J&E is here, and you guys are doing great things. So let's talk about that now. So when you started the nonprofit, you know, like what was your idea? Was that just like something that came to you, like, you know what, I need to start advocating for other people and help build a sense of a community for these people?
It's grown and still continues to grow every day. My
That's
initial
good.
idea was, um, why is there not a community of people like me? Why am I feeling alone in the world? And I knew of NA and AA. I had been in the rooms, in my 20s, and they have a community of like-minded people. I said, why can't this be recreated with mental health? Um, and so I did that. I created a support group for people like me. It's still operational today. It's virtual. People
Hmm.
in the country come. It's for anyone living with schizoaffective disorder, bipolar disorder, or schizophrenia. And I just wanted people to feel less alone and have hope. And I wanted other people to know that we can recover and we do recover. It's been so successful that we now have 3 groups and growing. 2 are in-person mental health umbrella groups, and another thing I did early on was I opened my mouth. "Hey, I'm Maddie. This is my diagnosis, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that." And it
Exactly.
really bloomed into my advocacy work today,
I love it.
being a voice of change. And with my master's, that's what I plan to do is advocacy and policy, because we need more strong voices out there. And I feel like me having both professional and lived experience gives me a very unique way to do that.
Definitely, definitely. Listen, so by the time this episode airs, everybody will already know, but I've started a community similar to Maddie's, except for mine's more mental health. I started one of those school things, and the idea is the same thing as mental health. Now I'm covering everything. I'm inviting professionals to come. There's classroom settings we're working with now. We can add different classes and things like that too, that I'd love to share with you and maybe partner with you,
Yeah.
honestly, because I think I love what you're doing. I love the message. I love what you're doing. I'm going to the broader scale. Like I love what you're doing, but I want to try and help as much as I can. Like maybe join forces with you,
I'd love
everybody. I
to.
will put the school link down below in this video for everybody to find it. Everybody's welcome to join. Like I said, we're inviting professionals and things like that too. But I love it, man. I love what you're doing. I think it's great. I think that's what we needed. That's the same thing I thought about when I did it too, because I called mine "You Matter Society." It's people need to know they matter. It's like, where could people go where they're not going to be judged? Things are like, I'm very
Right.
strict with rules about it too. It's like, no politics, no negative talk to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, and I've invited some other people that have been on the show and stuff. It's kind of something I've been working on for the last week in privacy that I hadn't told anybody really about, and about to roll out tomorrow, which, obviously by the time this episode out, it'll already be fully rolled out and everything too. But it's similar to that, but it's like it's offering like different classes people can offer and educate people on different things. And I've invited a bunch of different podcasters that have shows too to come in. I have one girl, she has almost 100,000 followers on YouTube. She runs a show called Everybody's Addicted in Canada as well. She has a TV show, so she's a part of the community as well. I've offered a couple other people, so I'm gonna start rolling it out to other people. So I'll definitely get you the link and everything, and then you can come check it out, and then
I
go
would
from there.
love.
But I love what you guys are doing, though. I think it's great.
Yeah.
So
We
you guys have
also
in
get really.
person things too.
Yeah, our in-persons are mental health umbrella groups, and
Hmm.
one of them has turned into like a social club for women. That's just
There you
kind of
go.
how it turned out. And then we also get really involved in our community. So I'm on the mental health collaborative board. I'm on the opioid collaborative board. I'm about to join a veterans board.
Awesome.
Um, all these wonderful things. And with my community partnerships, which is so important, we are actually planning a mental health simulation. Have you ever heard of like a reentry or poverty simulation?
No.
So I went to a reentry and I found it to be very impactful and enlightening. So I'm trying to recreate it. What will happen is somebody will come, like the community is invited, and you'll get a packet, and in your packet you'll get diagnosis. Do you have a job? Do you have insurance? Do you have children? The whole bio. And there's tables set up around the room, and you have to navigate life living that bio. So maybe you have a job, but you lose it and you lose your insurance. Now you have to go to social services and apply for insurance. Or maybe the pharmacy is out of your meds and you go into crisis and you get involved in the criminal justice system. How do you navigate that? You know, day to day life of living with mental illness. And we'll follow it up with free mental health trainings available to the community that can hopefully educate and break down stereotypes, because where I live, it's a mental health desert and there's a whole lot of stigma.
Yeah, there's way a lot of stigma now. And that's the reason this whole podcast exists, is just breaking the stigma about it, opening those conversations of people to come and share their journeys, meet other people that are doing other things. And it's just not just talk therapy. We're talking holistic. I got spiritual. I touch mostly every topic possible in this category. Like I said, the gentleman earlier, he's doing things with, mushrooms, not psychedelics, but mushrooms, different kind of, same kind of in the area, but not really the same effects, and he and I went into a real deep conversation. And things like that too. And, I meet all these kind of people. And, ever since I've started this, I've got a chance to meet different people, make new friends. I've been I did a summit a couple days ago. Last week I did a summit where I was a part of a media panel, and I got to meet more people there. So, like it's so interesting to see other people, and I had the idea with the whole community thing when I started mine was just like, I'm like, where can we all go that people that have mental health issues can go and talk to other people that have these or meet somebody, because a lot of times people don't have resources. Like you said, it's a desert where you're at, and it's hard for people to find things, and I figured it'd be nice and fun. It'd be like fun to have take the Facebook out of Facebook, and have an area where people don't get judged for having, being
Yes.
different, where they can come and feel like, they're a part of a community of people that understand things and very well advocate for them too, and then on top of that, bring in some of the professionals in that got for little classes along the way, some fun things, like a couple bucks to do them, whatever else, and things like that too. Right now, it's a free community. Eventually, it'll move to a $5 sub to get in there because I want to make sure people are serious about what they're getting into. Like, I want to make sure that because I'm keeping the very strict standards that we're not going to do drama, none of this. There's no need for all that. That's not the whole point. This whole point of this community is to basically take the drama out of social media for people that have, other things that can come together, support one another, bring other professionals in that maybe, hey, listen, maybe you'll meet somebody there that they do something that you align with and you like. You want to go explore it more, go reach out to them. You can talk to them. That way we can connect everybody, in a social aspect. And the great thing too is it has an app so people can access it on the go. So like even if you're not at home, you don't have to be in your computer. It has all these great features that are all included in the same thing. So, but when I saw what you're doing, I'm like, okay, all right. I like what she's doing. We may have to join forces here, and
I
become the
love
mega
it.
powers like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man over here. If anybody knows that reference,
It takes a community. I couldn't do anything I do alone.
that's awesome.
I lean heavily on my community partners and even with my peer support work when I work at an inpatient unit.
Hmm.
Um, and it takes a team. Everything about this takes a team and a community, and that's just what I'm trying to build
Yeah,
that
exactly. No,
community.
I agree. I agree. That's totally the same thing I'm thinking too. As I'm trying to open it to everybody. And the nice thing is that I have different feeds set up for different topics so people can go and hang out in their topic area where they want to be, learn new things, and I invite people to offer classes that some of these guys offer, like, hey, listen, you want to contribute to this, so I'll be inviting more people. So, and then when I start fully rolling it out here in a day or so, from the time this recording, obviously, um, I'm going to start rolling out fully. I'm going to start inviting different people and then just, as I start figuring things out, because I think it's a great idea to put everybody in one place and then take the social out of social media because that way we don't have to deal with these people judging us for putting our lives out there. Because I look at some of these posts and see these things people say, it's ridiculous. Some of you people should be fucking ashamed of yourselves, the things you say to people about how you're judging them,
I
about them have, the men's mental health thing was one of them that was really just like irking. It's like, what does it matter? Like there's awareness for everything else. They're just trying to bring the point to you that there needs to be talked about more stuff, and I've had people on that deal with schizophrenia in the areas of that too. That are just like, well, not everybody hallucinates, and I'm like, true point.
I have found that social media can be a dangerous place.
Mm,
Like, I'm
very.
very vocal. I put my story out there on social media, and the amount of times I have been called names, told I need to be locked in a quote
It's
Gooning
exactly
den,
what I'm trying to get away from right there.
get
That.
over it. Yeah, I mean, people feel safe behind a keyboard, and we don't know what someone else is going through, and words have power, whether they're said or typed. So that really has the ability to push someone completely off the edge because we don't know what's happening in their real life.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think Robin Williams said it best. He said, everybody goes through something, so let's just be kinder to everybody because you don't know what
Yes.
people deal with. And as I always sign the show off, I always say it costs not to be kind to somebody. Like, one kind act you could do could make somebody's day. For all you don't know what that person's dealing with. They could have the worst day possible, but their interaction with you could be so positive. They're like, okay, well, that's great. And then that could be the highlight of their day right there. Well, Maddie or Pete said something nice to me, oh, or they referring to us, oh, well, he was real nice to me or whatever, and I've noticed that when I work in, because I work in customer service currently. So like, you'll notice like after a while of meeting people for a bit, a lot of these guys wouldn't say two words to you. Then, they're real open, talk about everything. We talk about their families. Hey, how's your wife doing? This and that. And, it's just a constant just being real with people, and people could read authenticity, and that's the other thing too, is that, when I started this show, that was a big comment I got from my wife. And she was like, if you're going to do this space, be authentic, because if not, people are going to read through that crap really fast and go, oh, well, you're fake and everything else. And I'm like, true, very true point, and it's great that, other people like yourself are out there doing things. And like I said, as soon as I seen what you were doing, I was like, ooh, we may have to collaborate, or we may have to partner on this thing a little bit because our messages are
Yeah.
so close aligned. It's not even funny. And I have a lot of people that are supporting this thing already, that are real big, that other professionals, other podcasters. I've got friends that've got like 2 million downloads on their podcasts and all these other things like that all support everything we're doing, and all that kind of stuff like that too. So one bringing some, there's a lot of different things you can do when podcasting in general, just great to network with people because you meet all these really cool people, and then here you are, you're here now with what you're doing and J&E is doing and everything like that too.
I like what you said about kindness doesn't cost anything. I always say this when I do podcasts. At the end, kindness is free. It takes little to nothing to give a smile, a kind word, a gesture. But when I was feeling so suicidal at so much of my life, when somebody did that for me, what they didn't know is I was choosing life or death in that moment. And their kindness enabled me to choose life.
See, that's what I'm saying. See what I mean? It's just being kind to somebody, just that act alone is just, it makes a major difference because, like you said, people, we don't know what people deal with, and it's just, I don't know why people feel like they have to stigmatize mental health so bad. I think it's a lot of times people don't understand things, and then they tend to judge it instead of asking questions. And then even at that sense, they don't ask the right questions. That shit of get over it. Like, yeah, that's so easy to say. Like, oh, if I got cancer, you're gonna tell me get over that too. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And
Mental
it's
health
it's
is
pathetic.
Mental health is no different than physical health. It's not a choice. I didn't choose to live like this.
Exactly.
Trust me, I don't
Maddie
want
didn't
to.
choose for what happened when she was 4 either. You gonna tell her that's her fault too? I mean,
No,
come on, bro. That's
I didn't want any of this, and it is highly stigmatized. I try to be as educational as possible.
yeah.
Um, but some people, unless it directly affects them, don't want to hear it. They have the ability to just kind of brush it
Mhm.
off a little bit, but I think that's a shame. If somebody came
Well,
to you and
because
said you
it's a lot
had
of people don't deal with it, so they don't understand it. But a lot of people that do
right.
get what you're doing, and I have a lot of coworkers that come up to me and ask me questions and say, "Listen, this is a topic you understand," because all of them know I do a podcast. I did one before this though. That was just one I had fun with for a bit. That's still out there that people can listen to. That was just a complete joke of a time. But this one girl, she really resonated with what we're doing here now. And she'll soon be a guest on the show. We were talking about it. She's like, yeah, she said, the reason why I want to do the interview with you is because you get it more than anybody else. And it feels great when people tell you that because I had a guy yesterday on Monday I interviewed. He's, he's a coach now. He does a lot of work with younger youth and stuff like that too. He was telling me, yeah, I was listening to a couple of your episodes. I damn near died in this chair. I was like, oh God, you listen? He's like, yeah, I've been listening to him. I like what you're doing. I keep it going. And I'm just like, okay, he's talking to me. It's like I deal with imposter syndrome a lot early on in the
Yeah.
show because like it was so popular from the beginning. The minute I started this concept, my inbox blew up with just people that wanted to come on, and it's just because I'm just an average Joe. I don't know anything. I'm not specialized in anything. Everything I learn is from the people I meet as I go, and it's like I deal with my own issues, and it's therapeutic to come on here and talk to people and hear the people's stories, and give them the space to share things, and it's great because so many other people hear the stories and then, you get emails all the time. Well, listen, Pete, I was listening to this episode with so and so, and I think I have a great guest for you. And that's how I get a lot of guests too, by random people emailing me saying, hey, listen, I listened to your episode of this, and it's great to know people are listening to what I'm saying. And it's just like, I'm just having a conversation. It's the guests that are making this more enjoyable because you're bringing somebody else in that has the same ideals as you or has something to offer and bring to the table, and it makes a better conversation because I could sit here and preach all day on a soapbox, but don't mean people are going to listen. But you bring in these guests, and it's a fun time to have these conversations. Like just I've talked to a lot of people. I've had some crazy moments. I think the number one craziest moment was the guy that told us the morning of the show he was going to kill himself that morning. He was describing it and everything to us. Why we're live, we're recording a live episode while this is going on too, and I'm having a heart attack internally. I'm going, oh God, what are we? What is he doing? What is he saying? And he's like, because it was like, how are people going to perceive this because this is a real person talking about this, and I didn't realize, but all these people afterwards, man, 15 to 20 people are emailing me going, oh my God, is he okay? And they don't even know this guy personally, and I'm like, yeah, he's doing great, he's talking to me and everything else, so I think what we're doing is really great. We're giving that safe space to people where you don't have to listen to the nasty comments of people sitting there calling you ugly names for no fucking reason. Like stop that shit, like quit.
Advocacy is all about lifting voices,
Mhm.
and it takes platforms like this for those voices to be heard. So I appreciate what you're doing. nobody would be hearing my story and maybe resonating or
Oh, I'll be sharing
wanting
you
to
out to a
learn
few other
more.
people too, so you already know that's gonna happen. The other people call me the master networker because I have a network of other people that have shows that, would love to hear what you're doing and support what I'm doing. So like I said, aligns right what I'm doing too. So I am definitely going to share you out for some other people that I know personally too,
Thanks.
because I love to get your message out there and what you're doing and the community and everything. I love the idea that you're building that sense. Like I said, I'm doing the same thing with mine. No, mine the same thing because I'm like, I just want to take it out because, like you said, all those nasty comments people say. It's like if you read the comment section of some of these videos, it's like, I swear to
It's
God, I just
hateful.
can't. It is, but why do we have to be so hateful about a subject people don't understand? If you don't get it, just swipe on. That's the same thing as all these TikTok videos. Swipe on. If you don't like what you're seeing, swipe on. That's the great thing about the internet. You don't have to stop and watch and say something stupid on my comments, or I say make attack somebody or say dumb shit about something stupid just to get a rise out of people. It's just like I don't get it. I hate the
I
internet
don't
at
get it
times, so I
either.
do. I don't get it, Maddie, man. I don't appreciate these interviews and these, but anyways. So, do you have kids of your own?
That's another story. So I always wanted children. I thought that was like my goal in life. But when my diagnosis changed to schizoaffective bipolar type, one of the first things they told me was never have children. And it was crushing. I
Yeah,
ended up seeing some specialists about it, and postpartum psychosis was all too real for me. And after living through such a major psychotic episode, it's not something I want to challenge again because there's always the chance I won't come back from it. So I actually had my fallopian tubes removed in March. I can't have kids, and adoption's on the table because I love children. I was a teacher for 10 years, but
yeah.
when you live with needs like mine, it wouldn't be fair to a child to put them through that level of psychosis.
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean, it's well, my next question to you then is like, do you think that like I know I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like we need to start teaching these kids a little sooner about their mental health. Just it's just like even their emotions, you know what I mean? Always want to regulate them at a younger age so they understand like how these things go on or educate them a little bit about it. Cause I feel like it should be like going to the doctor every single day for some of these guys. That's what my goal is with this whole community is to make it just something normal that everybody can talk about, especially the younger kids, start teaching some of these younger guys and stuff, because I had a friend on the show. He and I were discussing social media, and scary thought is that when social media was introduced, the suicide rate in young men went up to 20%.
Our
That's
youth
that's
right now, our youth is climbing and climbing.
So I'm saying it's crazy. It's like the things that they're putting on the internet, the false information that's coming out, and it's like that's the idea with this community though is to pull all that crap out of there. These are people that have some form of training or some kind of background in these things, that can educate these younger guys and girls, And then the stupid sex appeal thing on the internet too is just like, oh look at this girl so pretty, so I have to look like her, else, which causes
Yeah,
body dysmorphia and all these other women have these they have the incorrect vision of what a woman should look like, and it's like, okay, that's great, you're pretty, okay, cool, but that shouldn't give you all the attention only, and it's just the wrong message you're sending to people, and it's scary that they're looking at these things on the internet and seeing all these things and seeing these guys, objectify them with OnlyFans and things like that too. And then, adults could say they're policing their kids as much as they want, but those kids have access to the internet, so they can access anything of this stuff. So they can go look up what these things are and go see these things, and it's just like it sends out the wrong message to people.
I agree. And I do think we need to teach our children about mental health. Like, just take my husband as an example. He was never taught to process emotions. He was never taught to talk about emotions. And when I met him, he didn't know anything about mental health. And watching me and living with me taught him a lot, but he had to learn how to process his own emotions along the way. Like when I was sick, everything was coming out as anger, anger, anger. He was just anxious and scared, but he didn't know how to process or talk about
Yeah,
that. So it was really us working together with him as an adult. Okay, you're not really angry, you're anxious. And this is what you do when you're anxious. And this is how you talk about it. And it's okay to feel emotions and it's okay to talk about these things.
right. I still say hats off to him though, because he had to go through so much stuff just
Yes,
to deal with all that. It's just
it was
crazy the things that
traumatizing.
Yeah, but
It
at the
was
same
awful.
time, he stood around though. I mean, that says a lot about him character-wise.
Well,
So
the
like,
first time he found out about my diagnosis wasn't easy either. So
uh-huh.
we were dating and he saw a scar on my leg and he said, it's obvious what it is. It was from
Yeah.
self-harming.
Yeah.
And he said, "What is that?" He didn't know I had my diagnosis. And I said, I didn't know what to say. I was frozen. And he was like, "Is that what I think it is?" And I was like, "Yes." I said, "This is my diagnosis. I have mental health. I have mental illness." And he was like, "That's okay. Just don't ever do that again." And he was totally accepting from day one. And when you live with mental illness, you may think love isn't for me or no one's going to
Yeah.
accept me. But I'm here to tell you love is possible. My husband and I love each other so much, and he's gotten me through tough times, and I've gotten him through tough times. And you can still have that partnership, diagnosis or no diagnosis.
I love it. I love you advocating for that too. I think people need to understand that just because something's wrong doesn't mean somebody wouldn't understand. Like he understood completely. He got into it and was like, "Okay, what's that?" I knew he knew what it was. I guarantee he had an idea what it was, and then he just wanted to see if you'd admit what it is, you know. And I mean, hats off to him.
We've had a lot of it takes the education though, right? Like, at that time, my diagnosis was bipolar disorder, and he didn't know anything about it, so I got him books, and I talked to him, and it takes I have to be able to say, "I don't feel well, here's what's going on." I can't take it out on him, I can't just project. And
Yeah.
I need to be able to say it respectfully. So I've really gotten good at saying I feel I need, and he's receptive to that. And now he's pretty in tune and can kind of sense things before I can because we've been together for so long. But when you have a partnership, especially when you're living with mental illness, just communicate and educate.
Hmm.
It's my best advice.
Yeah, I agree. Being openly, have an open conversation about it, definitely. And it's be open to learn too. If you're the person on the other
Yeah.
side of the coin, because there's a lot that goes with that stuff, and it's the same thing like with anything like addiction. People go through addiction too. It's like, you listen, I tell everybody to ask me advice about anything. I said, let me tell you right now, either you're in or you're out. You're not half fucking in, you're not half out because you're gonna fuck them up worse if you're half in and then you leave because you don't like what's happening because it's not a fun
Right.
process to be a part of. And
Right.
and that's my best advice to anybody. It's like it's the same thing. If either you're in or you're out of this thing, okay? So understand what you're getting into. I
Right.
mean, do your research. There's plenty of information on the internet. You got Jen's group right there too. You can go ask some questions about things like that too. The community I'm building, you can ask questions too. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of resources nowadays that you can look into these things to understand, but don't ever sit there and just walk away because it's too much because you decide to get into this thing. Understand what you're getting into. It's very detrimental to these people because
Yes.
then they'll start thinking, when are you going to leave next? Because that'll be the deep thought in the back of their heads.
And if somebody's brave enough to come to you and say, "Hey, by the way, I live with this," meet them with kindness and empathy and compassion and grace because that's not an easy thing to say.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, this entire time you've been dating, they've been ruminating and ruminating about how to tell you. So the best thing you can do is just be nice about it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree 100% with that. I agree. I think that people need to be a little more accepting of things. It's like be kind to everybody, like you and I both say all the time. Be kind to everybody because you don't know what they're dealing with, and then when they tell you about it, don't make it weird. Be like, okay, if you have questions, ask questions. I mean, they want you to
Yeah.
ask more because it means that you're interested in what's going on and what they're dealing with, and things like that too.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with asking questions. I appreciate it when people ask me questions when they don't understand, when I'm pretty transparent, especially my husband. He doesn't live with this. He's not in my head. He's not a mind reader. So if he's engaging and asking me, I find it to be respectful.
Right, exactly. So, Maddie, we're at the fun part of the show. I'm going to ask you two questions, okay? And the first one
Okay.
I actually stole from a friend, and you're going to love this one, trust me. If your mental health had a song, what would that song be?
Um, When I'm feeling hyped up, a song about my mental health would probably be Beautiful Life. It's like a techno-y type song from
Uh-huh.
the 90s because I can be pretty like in your face about all this, but my life is beautiful. It wasn't always, but today it's something that I could have never imagined. So I live in a lot of gratitude with my mental health. I wouldn't be doing anything I do today if I didn't have the mental health uh, diagnosis that I do.
Yeah, Yeah, I agree. I love it. I love it. You're doing big things. It's getting bigger. It's clearly showing by the things that are happening, all of the parts that are moving. So it's great. Okay, so the next question, and the reason this podcast exists is if you could break the stigma about mental health. I mean, anything you hear, that you see or hear, or anything you just cannot stand, people are saying, what would you say it would be?
Oh, you know what I really can't stand is when people diagnose themselves with mental illness. Like, for example, I'm so neat, I'm OCD, or I'm feeling moody today, so I'm bipolar, or these pop culture cultural type mental health terms. I guarantee you, if you had to live with these diagnoses, you would not be saying that. And it really discounts what people have to go through. So please don't self diagnose and make it a joke because you're really being disrespectful to the community that has to live with it.
I agree. I agree. And I have to tell you, if you're not watching this, Maddie sat up in that chair instantly again, that soapbox to tell everybody. She's like, hold up, big dog. Let me
I
get in and
get
tell you. I loved it. I was like, go for it. Roar, lion, roar, but you're right, though. And I also hate when people say, oh, well, this is my diagnosis, and they use it as a scapegoat. Well, I'm
excuse.
depressed. And it's like, no, listen, this is what I deal with. This is not my diagnosis, doesn't make me as a person. I think you said something about it a little early on. I loved it too, because I think it's right. It's your diagnosis. It's not you as a person. Yeah, these are things you deal with, but that doesn't identify you as Maddie or me as Pete. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't identify us as people. It just means things that we deal with on a daily basis. And I don't like how people like make jokes about things. They say everything, oh, that's bipolar, or this person's bipolar, but that person's crazy. And maybe they are something wrong with them, but calling them that, it's not helping it anymore. Telling people they're depressed, oh hey, just get over it, it'll be okay.
I don't like
Um,
it when people tell me, just go take your meds. Do I need to call your doctor? Are you sure you're not getting sick? No, I'm just a human being. Like, just because we have mental illness doesn't mean we don't have bad days.
yeah.
It just means our bad days look a little different. We're still human beings.
Yeah, 'cause end of the day, you're right. We're still human, and people need to learn how to be more humane towards each other. And it's just crazy, man. Like, it just irritates me every time I see that. Like, I always go in the comment section. I'm ready to start defending people right off the bat. Like, I did that for a while on TikTok. I got a couple accounts banned because I was a troll hunter. I'd go on and find these people trolling people, and I troll them back, and they get so mad my account gets banned. It's like, oh,
I
I
do a
affect
lot
you
of
that much? You want to blame my shit? Okay, cool. Go ahead. I'll have to make another account. It's going back to what I was doing.
TikTok hides a lot of comments I get when I post videos, and I appreciate it. And Facebook and Instagram don't hide comments, and I'm at a point where I can just delete and ignore, but not everybody's there. That's
Yeah.
going to delete. And the first time someone told me, when I was posting part of my story that I belong in a loony bin, I was like, I'm telling you how I got over this. And you're telling me that even though I work two jobs, go to school and pay my taxes and don't commit crime, I need to be locked up. I was like, what sense does that make?
Yeah, no common sense whatsoever. So, but Maddie, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. I had a great time talking
Yeah.
to you. Do me a favor, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you. Where's
Yeah.
J&E available at?
J&E has a website, jesupport.org. It has links to all our social media. If you just Google, it's and sign E support group, all of our socials come up. My inbox for my email is on my website. It's always open. Maybe you don't know how to reach support. Maybe you need help finding it. Maybe you need a listening ear. I am a peer support specialist. That is my job, and I'm happy to help anyone who wants to talk.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you coming.
Thank
And
you.
with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of Pete versus Anxiety. You guys know where to find me. I'm Pete versus Anxiety. I'm an X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio and Pandora now, too. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do could save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete versus Anxiety signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?